everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Clock Rebushing. Much like my previous videos, in this rebushing I will use the method of finding the center of the original hole using one of the wheels. In this episode I have a new drill press, which is very accurate. It's a Proxon brand drill press. There is zero play in the chuck, and it's very accurate. So I assume this drill press can do a very good job of clock rebushing. Today we will work on a Seiko movement. It's a Japanese movement, 31 days Japanese movement, about 50 years old clock, which has never been serviced. And there is, I already did few of the bushings in this plate, and now we will go over the process of rebushing of one of the hole. You can see here the wear of the hole. I will insert the wheel, and you can see this is like we have two holes that over the time was made when this clock was working. Interestingly about this plate, that it looks like the manufacturer originally put a kind of a bushing structure. You can see it here. You can see there is a tiny structure, tiny internal structure here. There is also a tiny internal structure here. However, if we will turn over the plate, there is no, you cannot see the bushing here. This I already did, so you can see it, but here there is no sign of the bushing, so I guess this is kind of a halfway bushing. Anyhow, we will use for this job Bergeon bushings, and if we take some measurements, we can see that the wheel that sits in this hole is about 1/18 millimeter. So for that we will use the bushings of B45, which the internal hole of this bushing is 1.25 millimeters. So it will leave us enough play so the pivot can work smoothly. So next I will show, since as you know I do not have the dedicated tool for bushings, so I have to do some homemade improvisations. So I'm using this kind of piece of wood in order to clamp the plate, so it will not move during the drilling and during the reaming using the reamer. So I'm now tightening two screws, so make sure that the plate will not move during any kind of the operation. Okay. And now we will proceed to the part of finding the true center of the original hole. So for that, as I did previously in my videos, I'm using one of the wheels, and I will tighten the tighten the chuck, and now slowly I will take down the chuck, and one can see the play of the plate. So in order to be in the original place, I have to pull it to this direction, and just I am missing some light to make sure it is in the center now. Okay, now at this point I will tighten the plate using 2 clamps. Let's see if it still keep. No, it's not keeping the center. I will give it a little moving here. No, it's still not. Okay, it looks like now this is the plate sits at the center. When I'm taking down the chuck, I see that the wheel is just going down into its place. Maybe we'll have to do some more. I want to make sure that it goes down without any okay. Now I can feel it goes smooth into the right direction. Therefore I can tighten the clamps so it will not move. Another thing that I would like to emphasize is that I think the way to do the bushing before we use any reamer, we have to make a true rounded hole, hole. Otherwise, if the reamer is touching a hole that is not true rounded, it might be distorted during its operation. So for that I'm using a center drill, which will first make a true rounded hole, and after I'm using this center drill, I can come with the reamer. One comment that I would like to give here is some kind of comparison between KWM and Bergeon bushing. So as you can see, the KWM bushing, the KWM reamer is the edge is very sharp, unlike the Bergeon reamer, which is slightly wide at the beginning. So I must make sure that the true rounded hole before I'm using the reamer will be at least as the width of the beginning of the reamer, of the starting of the reamer. So the starting point of the reamer is 2.20, so my center drill is 2.5. So first I will use the center drill in order to make a true rounded hole of 2.5 millimeters, and then I will use the reamer to complete the job. Now the reamer is 2.97, which is fit to the external diameter of the bushing. The bushing I'm using is B45, and the external diameter of this is 3 millimeters. So we are using the 2.97 Bergeon reamer. So now, as we already found and we centered the plate, we can move on and drill a true hole, true rounded hole. Tightening the chuck. Again, this drill press is very accurate and has no run out and no play at all at the chuck. So let's start with it. I'm trying to do it as slow as possible, so the plate is safe and not moving and not moving